This podcast is rated R for restricted. Under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian. Mission 250.
Welcome to the Mission 250 Filmcast, where we are watching the best movies of all time, according to IMDb. We're getting very close to number one, so we're, I guess, continuing to space out each movie with a bonus movie, mostly new movies, if we can find one that looks good to help us go to the theaters. This week, luckily, there was one. It's called Heretic, came out a couple weeks ago. It's directed by Scott Beck and Bryan Woods, who are famous from the Quiet Place trilogy, writer-director team, and then also Hugh Grant from the Notting Hill fame.
Yes.
Is in this movie.
He's so charming.
He's so charming. He's so funny.
Yes.
So we're going to start this with spoiler-free reviews, 20 seconds each, round robin, and then we'll dive into spoilers and talk about this horror movie that came out in November for some reason. Let's go, John, first.
All right. Ready? Here we go.
Ready. 20 seconds.
I enjoyed it. There's some good moments of horror, some really good acting by Hugh Grant. He's really fun to watch. It sort of seems to kind of fall apart a bit kind of in the end, but you know, a lot of horror movies do that. So I was fine. I had a good time.
I'll go second. I agree with John. The beginning is really quick. The middle is very satisfying, and the end falls apart. It's a pretty typical horror movie type of thing, but it had a lot of good tension, a lot of good scares. I had a fun time watching it.
No problems here. I was in the same boat. Things did fall apart a little bit, but it was okay. I mean, it's a horror movie. I already accepted it was probably gonna.
Yeah.
And
have expectations there.
And yeah, I mean, things were a little bit contrived here and there, but honestly, I didn't give a shit, and I was scared. I was, tensing up, and people next to me were like, "Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! No!" Like a couple times.
That's great.
So that's always fun.
Yeah.
So yeah,
nice.
That's 32 seconds, but
points off.
No. You're talking about the other people, but that's the best thing about a horror film, to be in there and have people freaking out.
It really does create a scene, doesn't it, John? It's just like
I went Monday afternoon at 2 p.m. So there, like, for the first time in a while, it was a pretty empty theater. But at the same time, I saw it in like a Dolby digital, like the Dolby one they have, like the one cinema out of 16 they have at AMC's. And that helped a lot. Like, the commercials were fucking loud as shit. And by the end of like the 30 commercials that they play, my head was like already ringing. And I was like, well, at least it's going to be really scary when they jump scare me, because it's going to be inescapable sound.
Not too many jump scares in this film, though, too, either. It's
but
really
it
a good
teased
dread.
No, it was a lot of...
Yeah.
It was a lot of... Yeah, they did tease it.
A lot of
scene
good
where they were
dread.
creeping
really
down the
did.
corridor, and there was just the statue, but you just saw the
you're
person
just like
there.
waiting.
That was
You're
fucking
waiting,
scary.
And it doesn't come.
I think, I think we'd all then, if whoever likes horror films, this is a good one to go see. I mean, and we can get into spoilers and stuff, but I think...
But even like from a perspective of people that don't like, the slasher films.
Yeah, that's true.
This has some blood and stuff, but it's not really.
No, this is not a gore.
It's not a slasher.
Right.
You don't have to cover your face.
Not at all.
You don't have to cover your face. You don't. I didn't find myself looking away often. So that's a huge thing for some people.
No, TC, that's an excellent point. Because this is not, and a lot of modern horror films are more likely to go for that these days. It seems like so. That is a really good point. It is not very gory. It's hardly. I mean, there's some, but it's really tame comparatively speaking.
Well, we watched some pretty extreme examples this year so far.
That is true.
So.
That is true. I know,
substance has really raised the bar.
Yeah, that's exactly.
One thing I noticed
that's always there
was one thing I noticed too was just the budget must have been rather low.
It was. Why do you say that? Because they were in one room the entire freaking movie?
Well,
basically?
yeah, but also just like some of the outside shots looked so fake in like the blustery snow. So I was like, damn, they ran out of money on the snow.
They never had it.
They never had. Well, right. They ran out of money if it didn't. The snow wasn't the priority.
I mean, writing that there's no windows in this movie into the script must have saved them at least $1 million.
That's a good point.
Right?
That is a good point.
You don't have to fake an outside set. You don't have to keep the snow going. You can't see shit.
So true.
Because the house is
never
weird.
thought about that. That is so true, Daddy. You're like, how do we save 100,000? Well,
let's work it into the script. Yeah, I got to work it in there.
Done.
No windows. That works.
What if they want to leave the house? They can't. Yes.
They can. Yeah, it's a timed thing. Oh, beautiful.
Does that make sense? No, shut up. It doesn't matter. Go. Yeah. Write it down.
I thought those two girls were great.
Yep.
What did you guys think?
Yeah,
I thought the first 5 minutes was not good. I thought it was like,
I was worried.
We're Mormon. We have to do this thing. Here's the setup. And then they're in the house,
Right.
and then the acting starts to get good. And that's fine.
Well said. Yeah,
And like
I
the
was worried.
the difference between the two of them was great.
Yep.
And you just can't help but like the girl that ends up at the end, surviving. You just can't help but like her. She's more and more like,
I liked both of them.
As she becomes more and more, I guess all the innocence starts to die from her, right? And starts to slip away from her soul. She becomes like, I don't know, you watch some change for sure. And I felt like she did a great job of being those two different characters.
She loses her timidness, I guess.
Innocent little girl to jaded, I don't give a shit. The world is fucked, all within an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So it is pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I
Their
also
screams were
agree
good.
too. Yeah. That first 5 minutes, I agree though too, Denny. That was like, they're gonna try to be like, they're gonna try to pseudo intellectual sort of whatever. Like, and I know this is the way that growing up in Utah that this is the way some of these people talk. They're like 19 or 18. They're supposed to have all the answers to life, the universe, and everything, and so they think they're really smart. And so they will sort of talk like this, but it just still didn't work very well. And then, but then the tension, the fear that the both girls, the women, are able to, the way they exude that early on is really, really well done. How they're just so unprepared for this, and how they are so helpless, even though it's not like this guy's some big muscular guy with the chainsaw or whatever. I think I don't know. It's just such a very like low key kind of horror, like tension of them being afraid, and it's done just exceedingly well.
It
done
keeps
with
ramping
their
it
facial
up.
expressions.
Yeah,
you know,
and the situations, like, and the dialogue and everything. There's a lot of this movie is entirely dialogue. Basically, it's three people in a house for an hour and a half, and they talk the entire time. Right? That's basically what this movie is.
Well, Hugh Grant talks. I mean,
Mostly.
Jesus Christ. Did he memorize those lines? Did he make them all up? Like, how did he do some of that?
I don't know,
mean,
man.
Really?
I thought his role was perfect. Like, there wasn't a
was
misstep
great.
in anything that he did. Like, from the jokes, from the singing, from all the stupid
the way he would
theories
smile,
has.
creepy, like creepily after some of the things he said. But like then you're like sitting there thinking about the theology a little bit too. Like I found myself being like, man, that is kind of fucked up. I guess it is kind of like the. And then you're starting to like kind of go down your own world of remembering these kind of controlling situations from your own religion when you were kids. I mean, maybe not these days, but I don't know about you guys. But for us, I remember being in CCD and all that stupid shit.
Oh.
And like, it's just thinking about that stuff. I never really put it together that it really, by the end, you're like, wow, he's kind of right.
He's got kind of a point.
In a way.
I mean, he's
got
totally
a
messed
point.
up. But
he's got a kind of a point, right? It's controlling for sure.
I mean, I grew up in a little town in Utah, so everybody I knew was Mormon, and it was a big deal. And so
there you go.
And going on a mission, something that's a little weird about the film is that maybe it's changed a little nowadays. I don't know. Back then, at least, though, women did not go on missions. It was unusual for women to be missionaries. Their job actually
because
was
of situations like this, probably.
Well, no. Their job is to marry returning missionaries and have babies. That's their job. Their job is to get married and have kids. And some
maybe this
girls,
is a forward-thinking church or whatever you call it.
Some girls, if you couldn't find a husband right away, then they might go on a mission. But even then,
19 years old, too old, got to go out on their own missions.
I mean, maybe, yeah.
Who the
I don't
fuck
know
knows?
anything about that religion.
Did you read the Book of Mormon, John, for this podcast? Do we have a book corner this week?
No, I didn't. It starts
Did you
off
read
with
the tablet.
It starts off. It starts off with one of the earlier stories. Starts off with a beheading, though. It's pretty cool. Anyway,
Beheadings are cool. I agree.
Yeah, pretty awesome. No, I mean,
no.
So no, not a book corner
Sarcasm.
this week. Not going to go into that. I know there's a lot. It's a big book.
It is a big book, and it's full of weird stuff, I have to assume.
Yeah.
If it's anything like the Bob Ross version of the Bible.
That was cute.
I wanted to know if that Monopoly game actually existed. The Bob Ross
Probably
version.
does. I like it. That was just a great line. And the regional version.
Yeah, it just throws it down on the table. I thought, Hugh Grant toes the line of being overly. I mean, he could play it either way. Like he did it so well where he definitely was trying to be creepy, but he wasn't doing it so much that it was like unbelievable that they were uncertain about it. Their uncertainty was believable every step of the way until they got to the point where they were past it. But I mean, that's got to be really hard to do playing creepy, playing weird, not overdoing it so that you lose the reality of the situation.
He's walking. You're right. It's really a line that he's walking there because there's still that charmingness there, if that's a word. The charmingness, the charmimi. I think
it's a word.
Charmingness. Anyway,
you're asking us if it's a word.
It's there.
Charms.
It's there. Whatever.
The charm is there.
Yeah. There you go. I wouldn't. Yeah. Just say that. See,
just remove more than half the word, TC. And then you're good.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's still there. But there's an edge, right? But he's not like, I don't know. You can see any actor, or even like this is idea. Okay, I'm really gonna go for it. I'm really gonna be this psycho guy, and people think I'm this nice, charming guy. So you might play really like chew up the scenery or something, and that wouldn't have worked. It would have been bad. You wouldn't have had this kind of quiet tension that's there. It would have been, maybe it would have been good in a different way, but you wouldn't get this just unease, this sense of being unsafe, but not able to really quite put your finger on it quite yet until you decide you need to get out. And even then, again, that's what's so great. Like you said, it keeps going on and ratcheting up very slowly, where he's still just talking to them, but they're feeling more and more trapped, and he's sounding weirder and weirder. But
he just ignores them a little bit more each time too.
Right.
Every time they ask for the wife to be present, he's like, sure. In the beginning, I'll go get her right now. And then like the next time she asks, he's like, I'll check on that. Yeah. And then the next time she asks, he like basically ignores her, and they're like crying.
He's like, do you really want me to go check behind that door? Do you believe the situation is still real?
That was so.
Right.
Like, are we done bullshitting each other?
Yeah,
we all know there's no wife back there. Man, as soon as that hit, I was creeped out myself. And I thought that sort of the layout too of that secondary room just had a great visual. Like as you were watching what was going on, and it kind of took away from, or not took away, but it kind of added to the fact that they're speaking so much. You got to like see all this scenery in the background.
This sort of like
church, like the two doors, the weird candles, the table. And then, he had such a good way about him when he took out those games in the middle of that conversation and really like use them as visuals. And you kind of just, I don't know, it just seemed constricting. And then as we got into the story, it seemed even more constricting. And it was just, I thought they did a great job of that secondary location.
You're right. And even had that bamboo thing, so you had a sense of motion there where you had like the little, like where
it's going to move in the background with the water.
Yeah.
Every time it fills up and then it clinks and makes like a metronomic, almost like a hypnotic kind of sound after a while. Yeah. It was a good song, the Beatles song. Come on, that was great.
All the music was really good, and the way they used
the music was good.
Yeah,
I love it. Did you notice?
When he played that song over and over again, that like everything was creepy in this movie. He played it a second time. I'm like, am I going crazy? Is this the exact same song? It is the same song. What's the difference here?
And what a good way to pipe through the music into into that. I thought that was cool.
That spider jump scare got the entire audience. That was cheap as fuck, spiders. But that got literally everybody in our audience. Yeah.
Do you think they just like got bored in that section? They're like,
probably a little something here. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Because
usually with the jump scare, the tension eases afterwards, and it didn't really ease.
And it didn't. No, it was still ratcheting up at that point. You're right.
Which is good. I really appreciated how this movie stayed tense for 80% of it, probably.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, it's also kind of like you look at the end and you look backwards at the tension, and most of the tension comes from you not knowing the situation, like whether or not he's just a crazy person or if there's something like supernatural going on.
And what
you don't know, and it could be either. The way the movie is set up, the ending explains it all to you, but the fact that it keeps dragging you along throughout the movie, it doesn't matter that the movie explains it to you and maybe doesn't have such a satisfying thing. Like the ride,
what's
still
the profit?
Does it?
Is
it was
there?
good.
What's the so-called prophet or whatever is introduced? That's when I started to sort of be like, oh, this, I don't know, man, what is this? Oh, she's brought back a life, but who cares if she was? But I don't know. I mean,
I kind of hope that they made the artificial, what is it, the Matrix, basically. I wish they made the movie so
like
that Matrix was
really
real, and he
there.
Actually could pull them out. Like that would have been fucking crazy.
That would have been
that.
Then would have actually. I think I would have liked that.
And
better.
I bought
that would have been harder to pull off.
I bought that the movie could have gone there. Like the movie was, I didn't think like they're not going to go there.
When he pulled out the device until she said, "Oh, that's just a pregnancy thing." I was starting to get like, "Oh, yeah, really?" I was getting really
You're
cool.
like, it's going to be an AI? Holy
right.
shit.
Yeah, like this
they're
is
actually robots?
because she had a near
And
death
then, no.
experience or something. So he's like feeling the flame reacting differently. I think if it went in that direction, it might have been really hard to pull off. But man, it
would have needed
good.
more money to do it for sure.
Probably, maybe, yeah. But I still
Because this
think,
is their last set, right? They had like two more tiny rooms.
But I would have liked
past the
that direction
dungeon.
so much more than I just don't.
There's no more
yeah.
money, guys.
No.
You gotta figure it out.
Sorry. All right, we got the woman.
We're
gotta
not
just do
building
something
an
with the women.
AI world. We have 4
Yeah,
rooms, guys.
we're not going AI.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry. So maybe that I don't know, but it was kind of a disappointing part to it in terms of how it's sort of explained and what it is. And
I also was a little confused about the whole thing.
so what if she comes back to life?
Even if she does,
she's a zombie.
The elder ringing the door was a part of his plan, right?
Apparently. I don't
Apparently,
know.
that's what she said. But how did they time it out so perfectly? How did he know when the elder was coming?
Right.
I feel like that's a huge. He had it timed out where the person just ate the poison pie. The bell rings immediately afterwards, which is out of his control as far as I'm concerned. Right. Maybe it's in
he's
his
able
control
to open
somehow.
something in the floor and pull somebody down and up in the floor.
Or he could have had one of the weak other people do it.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah, but even still, like I that kind of was. I kept thinking to myself later too, like, wait, so you're telling me they climbed up that fucking thing and snuck in when nobody looked?
Right.
Like, come on,
big
man.
old stone,
There's no way.
big old trap door on the floor.
That's when I was talking about it becoming not believable and a little bit contrived. But then I just got over it. But yeah, I mean, if you really start dissecting it in those sections, I don't know. It's
it kind of defeats the whole purpose of his point, where like all of his little slaves he has there, they're all doing exactly what he says, and his point is like, if you control them, that's what religion does. But the one person that they use to tell the story about what happens after you die breaks free from the script.
Right.
So
none of them
controlled.
want to be there. They're all just trapped. You know, they're in cages and trapped. So it sort of falls apart. I like the idea of what he's saying, but I don't really know if it really applies to his captives, even, you know, like in the sense of,
or maybe that's the point where like he thinks he's controlling them, but everyone has free will, even within religion or something like that.
Right. And then they want to throw in like, oh, well, maybe the girl sort of comes back from the dead and she's a butterfly and all that.
That to kind of was the dumbest part of the movie.
I mean,
that was
in my head
wrapped up in a little bow, wasn't it?
When they showed that piece of wood with the nails coming out of it hit the ground, I was like, that's going to be used. And then like a minute later, they rested up against the post. I'm like, yep, put it right there for later use.
That's
and then
fine.
towards the end, I'm like, where's this stick with the nail? Oh, there it is. Out of nowhere, she's back to life in Hugh Grant's head. There it is. Okay, thank you.
That was fine. Yes,
I
I'm
thought
okay
it was
with that.
great.
Yeah. But yeah, I was kind of
but
bummed.
not to mention she was resurrected, so she's the actual
but then died
one they were
again.
talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, but
right.
whatever. But yeah,
Right.
so it's
So then
that was never no one ever said anything about that, right? All he was saying was that she'd be resurrected.
Well, I thought that her little neck wound wasn't that bad anyway. He just like there's not a lot of
no.
Man, it's a little scratch. If you don't
You
get like
gotta
the big, if you don't
gotta
get the
cut deep to really
you gotta get the
hurt
thick
neck.
ones. They're pretty thick in the neck. I think you're supposed to really like get in there. You
I
know?
mean, she was down for a while, and it did look like the blood was
It
coming
did
out
look-
pretty
She
fast.
might have fainted. Well, if I see my own blood, I faint too. She's probably like me.
Maybe. Yeah.
I get blood drawn. I'm passed out in the chair. You know, it happens to some people.
She seemed tougher
Other
than you,
people's
though,
blood,
Danny.
fine. If I'm cut and I
She's
see my
tough.
own blood,
So we know you're not.
Yeah,
That's all.
That's okay.
everybody knows you suck.
Everybody knows. It's okay.
If I'm in war and I get like a little nick, just leave me behind, guys. I'm as good as dead.
You guys come without me. I got a splinter. I got a
blister,
Yeah,
guys.
all those
It's all
bullets in the
over for
trees,
me.
and I got a splinter. I think I got 2 splinters. I got one in each hand, guys.
Not gonna make it. Not gonna make it.
Splinters are fine as long as you don't pull them out, John. Just leave them in there forever.
Okay, right. That's what you do.
Yeah. There were a couple other things that I thought, like Hugh Grant's point went over a lot better than the defiant Mormon character. I forget her name. I always feel bad doing this where I name the famous person and then don't name the not so famous
person.
people.
Well, they don't matter.
Happens.
Sophie Thatcher, I think is her name. Sister Barnes. Yeah.
Yep.
So Sister Barnes, she's like, your points are stupid. There's a lot of other things, like so Hugh Grant goes through and states all the similarities that all these religions have with all these other religions going back really far in time. And her argument is that there are a lot of things that aren't similar as well. And then also the old gods had a bird face. Those are really stupid points.
Yeah.
Those do not help her side of the argument. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that there are so many similarities is all that matters. It doesn't matter what other extra details don't line up. That doesn't matter at all. I don't see that as it being a point.
but she's a kid. So
Yeah, she's just arguing back. Yeah. So,
But it would have been fun
agree.
if the movie made balanced points on both ends,
I know.
right? Because there is a
That's what I
balanced
liked.
point to be made against Hugh Grant's argument, and they don't do it in the movie. Maybe because they're young, but it would have been more fun, I think, if they did. Because there would have been more to talk about if they did.
Yeah.
Because I think to me it seems pretty one-sided.
No,
right? I mean, it's a pretty interesting conversation to have.
No, it is.
About
And it
religion,
is like-
and the
like
movie
to-
doesn't really
yeah, just
bring it to the
not
level
when you're
it needs
being
to.
held against your will on your mission, doing normal things. But yeah, sure. Any other time, let's have this conversation. But
It would have been nice to
But
learn something.
I would have liked it
you
if
know?
they could have really fought with.
Well, but
fought
it
back
wouldn't
with
really
him,
be believable
you know?
if they had like a normal conversation, right? Because he's being
I guess.
a psycho.
Did you guys notice Topher Grace in this movie?
Well, wasn't he was the elder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend Dan I went to this movie with, he like turns to me, this like kind
From
of
that
overweight
70s
guy that
show?
the guy that I
Wow.
couldn't recognize. He's like, "Is that Topher Grace?" I'm like, "If that's Topher Grace looks different than he did every other time I've seen him."
I think he was wearing a wig.
Maybe.
He had a hat on the entire time, I think. At least when I was getting elbowed, he'd be like, "Is that Topher Grace?" He was out in like the weather and he had like a big hat on, so you could barely see him. But that's weird. Very small role for that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in Spider-Man 3 for fuck's sake. How the mighty have fallen.
He's just having a good time.
Yeah.
Maybe he knows these guys and liked A Quiet Place. I don't know. And just was having fun.
Yeah.
It was a really small role. I mean, it was a good. He kind of knew it was coming. I don't know, but it was a good laugh when he knocks on the door again, and he's like, "Just
Like,
one
do you
more
want the
thing."
pamphlet.
Yeah. I thought it was
Did you
funny.
guys laugh throughout this movie as well?
No, I didn't.
No, not
You,
really.
you do that though.
I was laughing pretty good. I mean, like the Jar Jar Binks stuff.
Yeah.
Some of Hugh Grant's stuff was like actually pretty funny.
That's fair.
I thought I was laughing. I mean, it was stupid and silly, and yeah,
I wasn't
didn't
laughing,
ruin
but I
the
mean,
tension.
Yeah, that's what's. I think that it was hard to laugh through the tension. I don't know. You can do that, but it was still. But you're right. I mean, again, his dialogue was great, and the way it was delivered, and yeah, some of it was funny. Like again, like what we said earlier. You know, the regional edition. You know, I mean, it's just because he's showing that he's having a good time. Even his character's having a good time doing this, even though he's still kind of creepy or whatever. He's also a bit of a he's enjoying himself in almost a friendly way, which is just, you know,
Weird.
Yeah. I just wish it was. Yeah, I wish there was. I really like the idea of it was the AI thing, where he really had a real point to make, in terms of like.
Or that these people could really be resurrected.
Right.
That also would have been a more
That would've been
interesting way
cool.
for it to go.
But resurrected as a zombie still wasn't working very well either. It's like she's like, oh, she's gonna live again, but like, oh, she's a mess. I don't know. Even if she does get resurrected,
Would you
look
want to
at her.
live? Just kill yourself.
Look at her, Jesus! I don't think this is a big deal. You know, you call her the prophet. The prophet needs a shower.
He's a scientist, John. He's honing his tactic. He needs more people working on it. He's just got he's got the prototype here. Once you get a bunch of people working on it, you'll figure it out. You get to look pretty
right now.
in the
This
afterlife.
is like the first iPod or something. It's just it's a little clunky.
Exactly. 100 songs and then a mechanical
that's right.
wheel. No, thank you. I'll wait 5 years for the
the wheel was
10,000
awesome.
songs.
I love the wheel.
Don't you say that, John. No one likes the wheel.
I like the wheel.
You get dead skin and the crack between the wheel and the iPod. That's not good. Nobody likes that.
Okay, yeah.
What was Hugh Grant's plan? If he had won this situation,
Yeah.
what would he have gotten out of this?
There are two more girls in cages, I guess.
Really?
That's all I was thinking. Yeah. That's how he got his other girls. Like he just lured them into his house and talks to them to death, and then they end up going in the back room. I don't know.
I think there would have been more, like if his plan, I want to know what his plan going according to plan would have looked like. If the bell hadn't have rung or whatever, like what was the plan? Because they noticed that the head was different on the body. Like she turned her head.
Yeah.
The original one was face down in the pie. The other one was face to the side because that person was alive and they couldn't breathe
that's
through the
again
pie.
where it feels like this falls apart. Where I feel like the movie's almost sort of implying that if things go to plan for him, they are willingly going to be his slaves. That's almost what it feels like. It's implied that
at the very least, he has gotten some people that did that, and those are the people
which
in the cages.
yeah, but
then again, chicken and the egg. How do you get the people to be convinced to be part of your cult if you don't have people to do the little experiment and eat the pie in the first place?
right. And
Very
normally,
true.
when you want people to be in the cult, you want to show that your other cult members as being happy, not starving in cages. It doesn't go so well as far as advertising goes. Like, hey, join my cult, be starving in a cage. It just doesn't.
I don't know, man. If somebody convinced me that they were like able to bring people back from the dead, I'd have some special considerations to make there. That's a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You actually believe that?
So you think that maybe
I go live in a cage is what I'm trying to say.
Really? You're like, I'll go live. Okay, cage. Show me the cage. You brought the zombie woman back from
oh
the
man,
dead.
that's a cool trick. You can bring it back from the dead. All right, that cage there. No, that was taken. Okay, that cage.
Can I
got
have the
it.
one in the corner? I want the one in the corner.
I just want the one by the window, please.
Cage is
Just
taken.
give me
It's
that,
It's Forrest Gump. Cage is taken. It's a bunch of like rude
right.
people in a line of cages.
Cage is taken.
I met
Cage
the
is
most
taken.
beautiful voice in the entire world.
Cage is taken.
You can have this cage.
You can sit in my cage
Share
if you
my
want
cage.
to. This is the stupidest thing.
It is.
And,
Polygamy is like a bunch of cages in a cellar with a psycho on the second floor.
Oh, does that have anything to do with it? Does he want to bring polygamy back?
I don't know.
So.
I mean, he's
he's just
got
making
some
that point.
kind of, which
No,
one's worse, right? I mean,
yeah.
here's the psycho with multiple women caged in his basement
Yeah.
and bitching about, a guy marrying multiple women. I don't know.
Well, that was like for the Mormons. That was again until Revelation. That's if you wanted to ascend to the highest planes of the afterlife, you had to be a polygamist. That's how you like rose the furthest in the church in the afterlife as well. Like that's how you, as a man, you do the most.
Well,
honey,
at what point do you chain
there's
him
nothing
into a
I can do.
cage, I guess.
My
That's the
friend
question.
John over here, who's a regular human being, who's a con artist, he told me that I got to marry and fuck a bunch of other women. That's something I can do.
Especially like
Nothing I can
younger
do.
girls. I'm
Sorry.
sorry, but what we need are some. We need to bring in some preteens in the household, and it's God saying this is what we need to do. So go talk to God if I'm sorry, yeah. It's
Oh, you can't? Oh, you can't talk to God? That's right.
Right.
I can. I'm the man of the house.
That's true, right? So, but you could, I'll put in a good word with him for you, unless you just keep annoying me by giving me that face of yours. But
How about I tell the town that you're a non-believer when we burn you at the stake? How does that
fair.
sound? That's
Yeah.
right. Shut your
Sounds
mouth.
great.
But that is true. Like they through Revelation, their prophet supposedly can talk to God. The head of their church talks directly to God. He would never steer them wrong. And so they can conveniently have a revelation when it is in the church's interest. And it was starting to not go well. Most people don't think polygamy makes a lot, it just doesn't work well when people roll into your town and take your daughters when, and they've already got wives. It just doesn't,
So when you say, so I was confused by this because they were talking about this in the special features too.
oh, yeah. Special
When you say
features?
there's like YouTube videos and stuff
Oh, yeah, right.
that you can go to. But I thought when they were talking about it, they were talking about the book of Revelations, but they're
No.
not.
No,
What
the
they're talking
revelation
about
is
is
God
separate.
telling the prophet, the leader of their church is the prophet. So,
Okay.
and
So it's
God
John
tells
Smith.
the prophet. Well, yeah, but Joseph Smith, but then every
Joseph Smith.
other leader of the church after him too, Brigham Young, and then the current leader of the church is the prophet. And he talks to God.
So who
God
was the
talks to
one
him.
that got the revelation word?
It's all revelation that God reveals things to the prophet.
Oh, which leader got the revelation that said stop marrying all these women?
That was well after Joseph Smith and Brigham Young, and I mean that was like late into, I don't know what year it was, but
Do you think all the guys in the Mormon religion were just like, "Aw, come on"?
And they're
Oh, what do
still
you mean?
forward to that.
I'm the last year? Oh, come on, man.
It's like no more.
That's not fair.
That's not fair.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions on the movie? I don't think so.
Nah, again, it was great to see. I can quibble about it towards the end, especially, but man, it was it was a really good sort of slow burn of a horror film, and I don't even know if it's fair to call it horror. Should we call it horror?
It's
I guess horror.
It was definitely. It's like they're trapped in the house.
More
It's tense the
psychological
entire
horror
time.
than slasher.
I don't know the
scary,
difference between thriller and a horror for the most
I
part.
know.
This could be a thriller, I guess.
Well, I guess
I don't
sort
know
of
if it's
in
a
way,
thriller. Thriller
no,
is
you're right,
typically
sorry.
like, there's something that's actively happening. It's like dun,
Got some
dun, dun,
chasing.
dun, 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 driving almost.
That's
This
right.
wasn't really
But this movie
driving.
is-
This was kind of revealing.
But it was subtly increasing tension.
Yes,
It was.
Like-
that. It was. It was.
So maybe like
I
a
almost
suspense
wonder-
movie.
It was
maybe it's a
suspense.
suspense movie
Suspense.
until you get into the
Yeah.
basement and then there's some horror stuff in there.
Yeah, that's a
Once you
good way
get to
to
the
describe
blood
it.
out of the mouth, then you get a
Suspense is
little
good
horror.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah, suspense is a good word.
I feel like
I'm
a
sort of
thriller.
like
You're
feeling
on
like,
like a journey. You're going somewhere. You're not
And there's
stuck
like a
in a
ticking
room.
clock, probably, right?
Right.
There's a time limit in thrillers most of the time.
Yeah, like Speed.
You have one night
is
to
a
clear your
thriller.
name.
Or
Yeah.
one of those movies.
How's that movie not in the top 250?
Equalizer
Come on.
is a thriller.
There's no movie like Speed on the top 250. That's sad.
What? No action movies? Like or
There's like
straight
Mad
action?
Max, but
Mad Max
yeah.
is.
there's no
Fury
dumb
Road.
action movie.
I
Those
guess
movies are
not.
great.
They are.
That's true.
Yeah.
They are fun.
You guys want some trivia?
Sure.
Yeah.
So this cinematographer here, his name is Chung Hoon Chung. We've seen him a bunch. He did Old Boy. He did The Handmaiden. He did Stoker. He used to work with Park Chan-wook all the time, and then he started working with American directors. He did the first part of the It series,
Oh.
which I think is probably one of the best looking horror movies ever made. The first one. I've seen it a bunch of times. It looks fantastic.
Oh yeah,
And
the first
TC
the one we saw in the theater, right? Like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not the one with James McAvoy. Not that one. He did
No,
not
no,
work on that one.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah, he didn't want to touch that one. He's like, James
Interesting.
McAvoy's in this. Fuck that. I quit.
the first one was
It's going to
so
be
much-
bad.
Yeah.
I guarantee
My
it.
man.
He also did the new Wonka movie, which I
Huh?
didn't see, but he did the cinematography
It
there.
was
That's a
okay.
fucking huge movie.
It was
Yeah.
okay.
It was
okay.
reviewed
Yeah.
well.
Did it look nice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was just one of those movies that I really wanted to see and was a little underwhelmed by, but liked.
Have you seen The Handmaiden?
No.
That movie's fantastic. It's similar to this. There's a lot of interior spaces with a lot of detailing and nice wood colors. I don't know how else to say it. Like warm,
Earthy.
it's like comfortable colors.
Cabin-like.
Yeah, cabin-like. So, I mean, this guy, yeah, he's talented. But then you also have the directors and writers, Scott Beck and Bryan Woods. They wrote Quiet Place, and that just kind of launched them into having a great career. But it started a long time ago. Go ahead, John.
Oh, have you seen The Quiet Place?
Yeah, I saw the first one.
Was it good? I mean, it had quite a bit of buzz. I mean,
It's a fun popcorn movie. It's like I'd say it's suspense, sci-fi, some horror elements, some really stupid parts, some good acting, some bad acting. It's like all over the place. But like as a theater experience, it was pretty fun. But I never watched it again, and I didn't want to watch the second one or the third one. So
there you
do
go.
with that whatever you will.
Right.
Yeah, it was weird seeing John Krasinski, or however you say his name, in a serious role for the first time after The Office. He plays Jim from The Office. And he did a pretty good job. And he also directed that movie. And he's married to Emily Blunt, who's also in that movie.
Wow.
That's kind of just an
Oh.
interesting dynamic there. But so these guys grew up in Iowa, and they were put in the same class in 6th grade, and somehow got to talking, and they both discovered that they both made home movies with their Star Wars action figures.
Oh,
So they
cool.
thought, hey, we should be friends. So then they just started going over each other's houses and making these short movies with their action figures over time. They've been friends since then. They went through middle school and joined movie clubs. They went through high school and had like movie cinema classes wherever they could take them. They read all the books they could find. They watched all the movie commentaries they could find because, hey, apparently that's useful. And they tried for a long time to write a script and have it be bought. They wrote 40 scripts before the first one was bought.
Wow.
That's a long time. They were asked how they actually broke through, and they said what they did was they applied. MTV had a movie, like an independent movie maker contest, and they won. And MTV said, you get $2,000 in a contract with MTV. And once they won, MTV basically said, here's $2,000, fuck off.
Right.
What?
So there's no contract. They just won $2,000 bucks.
Wow, that's it.
So, but what they did is they put it on their resume and they pushed it around, being like,
Hey,
we won MTV.
this. Right.
Yeah, and that got them. That one of the producers of the movie Election, I couldn't get his name in time, but some movie producer that has made movies that people have heard of saw that, got the word of that, and was like, hey, you guys come in, make me a pitch, and we'll see what we can do. We
Oh,
went
nice.
in, made the pitch, and they got funded for a short film. The short film was good enough where they got funded for a feature length, extremely low budget. They said like micro budget movie, but it was a movie, a full length movie called The Nightlight that came out. And then they said that their entire career was like, they get a step ahead and they felt like they went all the way back. And then next time they get a little bit further and they felt like they went back to zero. And it just like every
man.
single time they kept like pushing a little bit further until they wrote A Quiet Place, and that one got picked up and got a decent sized budget and was a pretty big smash. And now, they're not made or anything.
No,
but it's just like, it's a
good for them.
pretty
That's
cool
awesome.
story.
I mean, this is kind of
Yeah.
the state of the industry for most normal
Yeah.
folk. I mean,
It's still so like,
look at
it's
what
so
Ryan's
random.
gone through,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
true.
they said like
we get
they
to
thought
hear
they
about
made
the
it
people
one
who
movie.
made it. I mean, as opposed
Yeah,
to
it's
the
weird
many
because-
who didn't.
Usually we watch movies where people are like set. They're like, oh, they're good. They're going to get work. But then these guys are just like, hey, we made a movie. Nobody watched it. All right. Next time.
Nice.
They went to like community college together and studied film there. And they
Oh,
used
wow.
to host movie nights where they would show a film they made. And then they would give everyone that watched it a screener card to kind of pretend like things they saw that Hollywood was doing. They
Yeah.
made like they did mock setups of it and got feedback the way Hollywood studios get feedback, but it was just to them, and they were doing
Nice.
all of it themselves just because they wanted to like do all of the things that real movies do, so they could figure out how to do it, basically.
huh?
And then they made it. I mean, they're making it right now. This movie was less than $10 million. Right now it has $14 million global box office, which is not huge, but over the course of the movie, it's probably going to make money. It's pretty highly reviewed.
Yeah.
They're probably going to get more work.
They got,
I would
they got
assume.
they got a good performance out of the actor. Other actors will want to work with these guys, I'm sure.
Yeah,
after
Hugh
this,
Grant's like his, he's famous. He's like an
Right.
A-lister still probably.
Yeah,
And
still
he's
doing
getting good reviews. That's got to, he's going to help them in
Yeah.
ways that he can.
Ah.
It's cool. It's like rags to riches, grow up in Iowa, like movies,
Mm-hmm.
make like film your Star Wars characters, and now you're
Right.
you're writing
But Jesus,
and directing big budget
how
movies.
hard these-
bigger
how-
budget
how, like-
movies.
scripts.
I know how hard these guys worked and didn't give up. It's kind of crazy.
I
You
mean,
just
that's crazy to me
Yeah.
too. I don't know how
Yeah.
you can live life and just struggle, hoping that
right.
one day you'll get there. It's crazy.
Yeah, their dream, man.
Yeah.
It's their dream. And this movie, to show like how not popular some things are, and not to put ourselves on blast, but they had like a 36-minute interview on this YouTube channel called Ringer Movies, and this one was posted just 14 hours ago. It was a really good interview, but as of my watch, like an hour ago, 981 views.
Oh, you mean The Ringer? That's Bill Simmons.
Ringer Movies?
Yeah, if it's the Ringer Network, that's Bill Simmons, the guy he's like really well known in sports podcasting.
Maybe.
He
Maybe
works
on
with
his network.
HBO. He did a lot of the 30 for 30 stuff for ESPN.
Oh, nice. Those are good.
Yeah, he's incredibly well established, and he has like one of the most popular sports podcasts out there. Yeah, it's so should be, if it's the Ringer, they've got, it's part of like a pretty well known network of podcasts.
Yeah,
too.
apparently people don't really care about
Yeah.
listening to interviews. It's just kind of surprising. Like, this movie had a $10 million budget, and they're spending 40 of their minutes, two people spending 40 minutes to get 1,000 views in 16 hours. It doesn't seem this day and age like that is necessarily worth it, but I'm happy they did it.
Well, yeah,
because it was a
that's
good
true,
interview.
That's fair.
So
yeah, but maybe it gets to the right enough people where it's a small enough movie that they're just doing. I mean, they're not doing the usual big press, right? So I don't know.
I saw some commercials for this before movies. I've been aware of this movie for months.
Really? I had not. I was just looking around. I just saw, Hugh Grant in a horror movie. Okay, let's go.
Can't say no.
Yeah.
That's basic. Well, before we end this podcast, did you guys, one of my favorite parts of going to the theaters, seeing the trailers,
Yeah.
seeing what's going to come out next, seeing what's coming up. Did you guys see any that like stuck out to you guys that looked like they might be really good, or we should like put on our watch
I'm
list
trying
and
to
maybe
remember.
watch?
I didn't. I was kind of sad because the trailers I saw, like when I went and saw Longlegs, I saw a whole bunch of really fun horror trailers This one was a little more mixed. There wasn't really like as many of the horror ones. So it was more like the general kind of trailers that are coming out there of other big movies and stuff. I don't know how they decide what to put on the trailers, but so I didn't really. What did you see, Denny? Are you like fishing here for something?
No, there was one, and it's actually the guy who made Longlegs has a movie coming out soon, and it's a Stephen King short story made into a movie, and it's called The Monkey, and they played a trailer of it beforehand,
I think I saw
and it
that.
looked fucking good, and it had Theo James and Elijah Wood were the actors in it. I'd say look up the trailer if you still watch
monkey?
trailers.
Okay.
The Monkey.
Okay. Is it about a actual monkey?
It is about a wind-up monkey, one of the freaky looking ones, with the little symbols and stuff.
Oh wait, this is the one.
weird.
It like grants wishes, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It looks fucking scary.
but not in the way that then you get what you want, but you regret what you asked for.
But at
kind
the
of
same
thing.
time, you have Osgood Perkins, who did Longlegs, made a creepy fucking trailer for Longlegs,
Yeah.
and this trailer was creepy, and then the movie
Wasn't so great.
not so good. So maybe the trailer team's back, everyone. The best
That's right.
trailer team in the business.
biz.
They
That's
can make
right.
a mediocre movie look scary.
So
as
what we
fuck.
should just do is, in this modern day, nobody has like hours. Let's just review trailers. That's all. Do like a 5-minute podcast every week.
Did you see
I would bet
Trailer A?
$100
Great.
that already exists.
I'm sure it
You're
does.
probably
the upcoming
right.
movie podcast.
There's probably
Yeah,
more than one.
I'm
We
sure.
need to talk about the editing techniques in this trailer.
That's right.
That's right.
Best trailer of the year, top 250 trailers. What do you think?
Rate
The
and
era of
subscribe
90s
for
voiceover.
script notes and advice. Right? I mean, that'll be the next one on trailers.
Yeah.
That's right.
I know.
You get the guy who used to do the commercials in the 90s on to talk about the good old days. Just talk over the entire trailer.
Nice.
Those are nice.
Yes.
All right, so guys,
Wait, top
we're not
250?
doing Lord of the Rings. Oh yeah, top 250.
No.
I don't think so, but certainly enjoyable.
No.
Yeah.
No, and I'll have to, I want to say that most of the time, people who don't watch horror movies, I like to talk about horror movies, and I've been asked, are there actually good horror movies? I usually say between 1 and 2 good horror movies a year come out that I would recommend people. And I haven't even watched any of the foreign ones this year, and there's three good horror movies this year. This would be one of them. I'd consider this one of them. I'd put it below Romulus and The Substance in my own personal ranking.
Yeah.
But it's really good. If any other year, this would have been it's good.
Stand out.
That makes me happy just to kind of say this is a good year for horror, and that's good stuff. Top 250 now. Next week we're not doing Lord of the Rings because we're not yet to the highest one, which is the Return of the King.
I'm not ready to invest the 3 months of our lives either.
Oh my God. It's going to be good to release those around Christmas and New Year's anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I think those are good. That's a good holiday sort of thing for us. Yeah.
We one time during COVID, we didn't have a Christmas celebration, so me and Naomi watched all 3 on the same day.
Oh, nice.
That was a long day.
That was a long day. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
a
by the end
long
we're
way.
we have to finish it, but this is a bad idea. Just to say that we could do it. But next week we're going Fight Club, Fincher.
All right, let's go.
All right. I'm all right with that. I like that movie.
Yeah, I think it's number 10 on the list. Guys were going to break the top 10.
Ah, man.
Pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm
All right.
kind of blown away. Seems so far off once.
I know. And it seemed to be always getting further off.
The more we got in, we're I can't quit now. That means I'm totally committed. Fuck.
Yeah. All right. Well,
all right.
Fight Club it is.
Fight Club.
Fight Club it
See you
is.
soon.
Talk to you later.
All right,
Later.
guys. Bye.